I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting for Tuesday, July 29th, 2025. This meeting is being recorded live and is streaming on the District of Summerland YouTube channel. All representations to council, written or verbal, will form part of the public record and be available to the public for viewing electronically or as a written record. Corporate officer, any late items? No late items. Again, approve the agenda, please. Councillor Peak, Councillor Betts, all in favor? That carries. Consent agenda. Would anybody like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to remove attachment A from the LCRB outreach, liquor and cannabis regulation branch outreach.
Okay, so I'll go down to item number 11. Anyone else? If I can get approval of the consent agenda as amended. Councillor Peak, Councillor Betts, all in favor? That carries. Straight into my report. On July 23rd, I attended a Zoom meeting for BC mayors with staff from the Provincial Ministry of Emergency Management, Ministry of Forest, and Ministry of Water, Land, and Resource Stewardship for an update on the drought and wildfire situation throughout the province. Currently, more than half of the rivers in BC have below normal stream flows, creating drought conditions in many areas. As of the 23rd, there were 71 active wildfires in the province, of which 51 were started that week. Those 51 fires, however, had only burnt 26 hectares of forest, and there were no fires out of control anywhere in the province. I didn't check today, but as of yesterday, there were 66 fires burning. So the situation is pretty good. But as a note of caution, the officials said warm, drying winds are on the way. So it's important we all remain vigilant. Over the weekend of July 18th, 20th, I attended all 3 days of the powwow between the lakes, which, like 2 years ago, was held at the South Okanagan Event Center in Penticton. The District of Summerland was once again one of the event sponsors, and I had the honor of participating in the Friday and Saturday evening grand entries. Councillor Barkwell joined me on opening night. One of Council's published strategic priorities is to support truth and reconciliation through meaningful collaboration with Indigenous communities. And our sponsorship of the powwow is part of our ongoing effort to build a strong and respectful relationship with our Syilx neighbors. It was encouraging to see a number of Summerland residents in attendance at the powwow, and everyone I spoke with felt inspired by the powerful display of Indigenous culture. Nothing brings people together more than music, dance, and culture. I see that somebody calling themselves Summerland First has issued a statement on social media questioning council's sponsorship of the powwow without actually naming it as the powwow. Rather, they call it a private ticketed event. The Four Seasons Cultural Society, which organizes the powwow between the lakes, has gone to great lengths to build bridges and make it easy and comfortable for non-Indigenous people to access and participate in the powwow. This is one of the reasons for holding it off reserve in a large venue like the SOEC. Like any event at the SOEC, such as a V's hockey game, anyone can go and watch. A day pass for the powwow costs $10. Summerland First took issue that we would sponsor an event held outside the community. But rather than continuously expect Indigenous participation at our events, reconciliation emphasizes the need to reciprocate engagement and show genuine interest in Indigenous culture by getting involved in Indigenous-led gatherings, ceremonies, and celebrations. In its statement, Summerland First says, quote, cultural support and reconciliation are incredibly important values for the community, unquote. Yet they then proceed to resist reconciliation with cynicism and spread misinformation about the powwow. In doing so, they undermine the effort many of us in Summerland are making on a personal, professional, and community level to walk together with our Indigenous neighbors on a path of truth and reconciliation. In my opinion, Summerland First owes the Four Seasons Cultural Society and the Penticton Indian Band an apology. Moving on July 17th, Councillor Barkwell and I attended the regular board meeting of the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen, where a delegation from the City of Penticton presented its new sports and recreation needs assessment. Whenever the City of Penticton comes to the board to talk about recreation, the suggestion that RDUS make a contribution to Penticton facilities always comes up. It was agreed the first step should be a needs assessment of the whole region, taking into account all the amenities in the regional district, not just those in Penticton. On the same day, at the same meeting at the Okanagan-Similkameen Hospital District Board, which is the same as the RDUS board, we received a presentation from the South Okanagan-Similkameen Healthcare Society, which operates 4 primary care clinics, 3 in Penticton and the Kelly Ave Clinic here in Summerland. They spoke about the new walk-in clinic in Penticton, which they run, and so far it has 35 doctors signed up. They said the walk-in clinic is needed given the short supply of family doctors and nurse practitioners in the region. Not only are many people unattached to a doctor, even those who are struggle with same-day access to primary care, which means the hospital ER has seen a significant increase in primary care cases. This diverts resources from true emergencies and puts additional stress on an already overburdened hospital system. I also attended a special meeting of the RDUS held on the morning of July 9th. It was called to meet with Minister Brittany Anderson, who was doing a tour of the region. Discussion at that meeting centered on infrastructure challenges, in particular the water systems in Sage Mesa and Heritage Hills. Later that afternoon, Minister Anderson visited Summerland, and CAO Stat and I played host and showed her around town. We were able to see and discuss several community projects, including the 60-unit affordable housing project and new home for the food bank that's going up across the street, the new daycare center that's being built by SD 67 at Summerland Elementary School, and the Wharton Street Revitalization and Infrastructure Renewal Project. We also took the minister to the Aquatic and Fitness Center, where Lori Mullen, our Director of Community Services, gave her a tour and discussed the challenges of keeping the 50-year-old facility up and running. At each stop, we stressed the need for government investment in municipal infrastructure, and at each stop, the minister listened and asked some good questions. Our final stop, we drove out to the Trout Creek Trestle, not so much to show her the amazing view, but to talk about the trestle's importance to the local economy, given it's the terminus of the Kettle Valley Steam Railway, which of course is one of the Okanagan's most popular tourist attractions. We also spoke about the fatalities from people falling from the trestle, and particularly youth suicides. And we talked about other social issues facing Summerland, including encampments of unhoused individuals like the community has never seen before. Minister Anderson is the government liaison to UBCM. So I noted we have requested a meeting at UBCM with Premier Eby to speak about our ability as a small community to deal with such big issues. Again, she listened carefully. Finally, to end on a bright note, sandwiched between the 2 meetings with Minister Anderson, I went to the Legion for lunch along with Councillors Peak and Barkwell and about 100 other people to celebrate the 100th birthday of able-bodied seaman Richard Norris. Mr. Norris is a veteran of the Juno Beach Landing in 1944 and a member of the Legion of Honor in France. He is one of only 2 remaining World War II vets living in Summerland, and he has called the community home for the past 60 years. At the lunch, I wished Mr. Norris a happy birthday and presented him a gift on behalf of council. And just as an aside, if anybody listened to Chris Walker on July 10th, the next day, he had an amazing interview with Mr. Norris, and so definitely look that up if you have a chance. That's my report. Sorry, it's a bit long today. And CAO, yours, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's a number of projects currently underway in the community, which is uncharacteristic for Summerland, and some public concerns have been shared by residents and the business community, including dust, noise, inconvenience, communication, and parking constraints. These concerns were anticipated and are common in relation to major projects. Each is taken seriously, with staff working to address and accommodate where possible, being agile and responsive in our communication efforts. Unfortunately, tourism season is the same as construction season. Many construction materials, such as concrete, are sensitive to cold temperatures. For example, unless concrete is hoarded and heated in colder months, it won't set properly. Sand and gravel used for backfilling pipes and road bases also has to be compacted thoroughly, which requires moisture to achieve design parameters, and any freezing prevents achieving that compaction. Heaters and hoarding also have to be monitored, which is expensive. Hot mix asphalt plants do not even operate during the colder months of the year. Snow, ice, and cold also create safety hazards for workers, and productivity slows down as the temperature drops, which adds to manpower costs. Inclement weather also is difficult to predict, which impacts the ability of project managers to schedule work reliably as the project moves forward, unlike the reliable weather of summer. Summer work is predictable and is completed quicker, which means it's also easier to obtain bidders for projects who need to mobilize for these projects, which keeps pricing competitive. Parking has been a particular concern in the downtown area. To keep parking spots turning over, we have been providing warning letters and sometimes parking tickets. This has been a priority to us to respond to businesses and their requests to keep people from parking all day in key downtown spots. Efforts to alleviate parking issues also include district staff parking on the north and east side of District Hall to open the south lot for the public, arranging for the contractor working at Wharton to park on Hunt Street to open sites on Victoria Road for the public, requesting that the contractor working on the affordable housing project on Henry Avenue utilize areas other than the public lot on Henry, and that is now been arranged. Temporary decommissioning of electric chargers in key areas, creating signage for the public where additional parking is located, which includes school district property, such as the newly paved secondary school lot on Main Street. Putting out information on parking options and alternatives on Facebook and the website. Creating turnaround facilities on Main Street and Victoria Road South. Creating pedestrian corridors to facilitate access to businesses. Providing temporary bus stops to avoid construction areas, and improving the district parking lot services near the roundabout with packed millings. Staff remain focused on the quick delivery of our projects to get through the construction period as fast as practical, recognizing also that any delay in the projects translates into significant financial implications given cost escalation. Of course, we're all familiar with inflation and sensitivity to the possible impacts of tariffs. Currently, the three major projects of Wharton Street and the other two major projects we're currently working on are on track for both budget and project scheduling. The Wharton project is about 1/3 done, and we are driving hard to finish it in time for Remembrance Day. A detailed website for that project has been regularly updated since it began, and that can be located on whartonstreet.ca. And we will continue to post regular updates in council on the website and using Facebook. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. So any questions for either CEO or myself? No? Okay, so we'll go straight to our delegations, and we have Donna Henningsen from Mayors for Peace. Just Donna, if you could just push the button there, and it's all yours.
Do I have to bring it closer? Can you hear me okay?
No, we're good.
All right. I'm not with the organization. I'm a longtime Summerland resident who became aware of Mayors for Peace a year ago. And I thought, as a former newspaper reporter with the Penticton Herald Summerland Review, who tends to not get involved in this kind of stuff, this is something I could put myself behind. So I sent a letter to Mayor and Council last year, and I've sent you a letter this year, and I'm, as a writer, I'm looking at thinking, I like the letter last year better, but I'll read this one. So your community is listed as a member of the international network Mayors for Peace. It's nonpartisan. The website is mayorsforpeace.org. The membership fee to be a member of Mayors for Peace actually began in 2025. It wasn't at the beginning when somebody signed up Summerland in November 2011. But as of 2025, the membership fee is 2,000 yen a year. That's $20 Canadian. What better time than 2025 to recommit and spark renewed community involvement in such a worthy cause? While nation leaders struggle to negotiate and dodge violence and war, communities, whoops, there we go. From the ground up, through organizations such as Mayors for Peace, are networking through city-to-city connection around nuclear disarmament. In that form, it is youth peace education and leadership, webinars. Well, go back.
Go ahead.
This one?
Yeah.
Whoops. Okay then. Okay, these are some of the mayors around the world. Okay, sorry. Let's try that again. This is the North American coordinator for Mayors for Peace. She has been for many, many years. So there is an American presence here. She is an American. Some of the things they do to do with nuclear disarmament: youth peace education, leadership, webinars, internships, exchanges, conferences around culture or sports, collecting and sharing great examples of peace in action. What also goes along with that, there's no other organization in the world who has the experience of atomic bombs. So the peace winners in 2024, they're called Nihon Hidankyo. They are the atomic bomb survivors who 80 years later continue to promote a better way forward. Keep in mind that there are city members from Germany, France, England, so many communities around the world have been affected by war, bombs dropped on their communities. Cities are targets. So Mayors for Peace gatherings share diverse global ideas for sustainable, secure communities. New ideas, to us at least, from around the world. How to keep interest in Mayors for Peace alive here for the long term. What is it exactly? It started in 1982 with the mayors from the Japanese cities Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Of course, August 6th coming up is Hiroshima Day. 3 days later, Nagasaki also hit. A total of 210,000 people by the end of that year dying directly as a result of those two bombs. The Mayors for Peace vision is a world without nuclear weapons. Secondly, a world with safe and resilient cities. Something like that we can all get behind. Safety and security is, after all, within a community's jurisdiction. The third vision for Mayors for Peace is promoting a culture of peace. It seems that a year after I brought this forward, it is becoming more and more a challenge to do that. Can't hear anything. What do the activities include? Let's see if I can do this. There is definitely a focus on kids, educating the next generation. There are options, you know, for how we are dealing with each other around the world. So the Youth Leadership Atomic Bomb Witness Talks, while these people are still alive, webinars, internships, exchanges, conferences. The 3 points, again, nonpartisan is this organization. They have 8,497 city members in 166 countries, regions. Canada has 113. The BC Interior has 11. But what really caught my attention was, at least the people I've talked with, 10, 15, 20 years after the fact, have no idea they're members. And certainly may not be aware they're supposed to be paying $20 a year now, right? So I'm going around to the 11 communities in the BC Interior. I'm doing talks like this. And to this point, it is very much, oh, how much are we putting into this organization? Nothing? Oh, okay. So this is a representation around the world. These are the lead cities. You'll notice that Montreal is the lead city in Canada. If you look at the introductory video for Mayors for Peace, the Montreal mayor says a little blurb, less than a minute. She does not even mention the word peace. She talks about the safe and resilient communities. She talks about housing. So what does that tell me? That tells me city members can be involved in this organization and take quite different approaches and focuses and still support this organization at a pretty key point in time. You will see representation from Tehran, Iran. That's pretty interesting. What is that about? Okay, on one level, it is countries who are very concerned about nuclear bombs. There has been one country in the world that has used nuclear bombs. So as I say, I'm not within the organization, but I'm really interested that this is a group of legitimate leaders in their communities with a very interesting, unique opportunity to work with cities who have experienced nuclear bombs and perhaps have the opportunity to connect on a city community level with countries they wouldn't ordinarily have the chance to do. So what am I asking today? I haven't really said. I'm willing to get involved. If you want somebody, Bridget Kemp and I went to talk with Julius Bloomfield in Penticton, and one of the first things he said was, well, we need a champion. We need somebody to champion this. You know, I assumed he meant elected officials, whether it's a mayor or councillor or group or Summerland taking the lead among the 11 communities in the BC Interior. And I don't want to go over my time. I've talked to Salmon Arm, talked to the gal who's the chair of the Interior group, and her comment was, okay, well, you need to take it to, it needs to go to the larger group, the UBCM's coming up, because there's 11 here in the Southern Interior, in Similkameen, and including Revelstoke and Nelson, there's a similar group in the Lower Mainland. How many of them are even aware? You know, these signings were from 1983 to 2011, Summerland being the last one. Okay, Vancouver, Burnaby, Terrace, bunch of them. Grand Forks was an early joiner. So, okay, I'm leaving with you. You're on the record. In this point in time, can Summerland recommit to this? I strongly encourage maybe shelling out $20 a year if you feel as a council you want to support this organization. And, you know, as I mentioned, Montreal has taken the focus of safe and resilient city. Okay, yeah, we can get on board because we're concerned about safe and resilient cities. You know, you're all busy people with your head down on local issues. Whether it be a community committee that helps get the ball rolling with this, you know, and connect with the rest of the 11 communities, have a regional committee, you know. So a year later, I'm bringing this to you, and that's my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Donnie. I think we need music. I was aware that we signed this in 2011. I knew that we did.
I did talk to Janice Perino. I emailed Janice and said,
Yeah.
do you remember this? What was that about? She figured, yeah, she did remember. She didn't remember any particular action or activity. She thought maybe it was a proclamation because they did a lot of proclamation signing back then. You know, and she did make the comment, you know, back then, oh yeah, peace, whatever. She didn't say that exactly. I'm paraphrasing. But she said, you know, in 2025, we have a different, things have changed since 2011. Maybe the time is right to make this more of a vital community.
I think we'd be able to come up with $20 a year. But you would think that the organization, there has to be some onus on the organization to send us a bill, send us an email. If you know, we don't hear, you go 20 years and you haven't even heard from them.
Yeah.
So I think some onus needs to be on them. And usually these sort of things come down the pipe through UPCM or FCM. You know, those are where you get all the municipalities involved. And for one, you know, I think for one municipality is to take something like this on, that's asking too much for that one municipality. I think that's why we have UVCM. That's why we have FCM, is to take those kind of things on. So
Okay.
That's just my take. But I'll open up to council, might have some questions. And council, any questions? Councillor Betts.
Thank you. And thank you for your commitment to these subject matters. I mean, it is so important. My question is, what activities are you aware of, or have you participated in any of these webinars to understand the value of what the organization is offering?
I just out of curiosity, I happened across a webinar, a presentation, and it was, I think, a university in Hiroshima or Nagasaki, Hiroshima, I believe. And it was a young professor working with some young people who were presenting their activities. So the professor's presentation was very interesting. What she presented was the state of nuclear warheads in the world and what kind of warheads and how they developed over the years. Yeah, you know, she knew her stuff. So it was very much a topic that we don't necessarily hear about on a day-to-day basis. What is the state of nuclear weaponry in the world right now?
So, I mean, I personally have spent time researching this topic in my degree, and it's something that the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty has been really important. It's been something that the President of the United States has been wanting to pull out of. So these are really important issues. but I'm just not sure about our role at this table in finding ways to support nuclear non-proliferation. When there are so many big challenges here at the local government level about, having challenges in funding infrastructure, trying to make our communities inclusive and safe and moving forward as so many things change. So for me, I think these are wonderful goals, and I would be interested if there was an organization showcasing their accomplishments, but I'm not quite sure of the organizational outputs that I'm seeing that we can, as a community, latch onto and stand behind and support. I'm just not seeing those pillars in place quite yet. So I think if you could reach back out to to this organization, you said you're not a part of it yet, but asking them to bring forward to communities, what is it that they're trying to achieve? What is the value that they want to bring to our community that we can build together? I think that would be really important for communities of any size trying to come together and support this global movement.
Yeah, a quote sticks in my mind, and that is a quote from the former mayor of Des Moines, Iowa, in the States, city member of Mayors for Peace. And his comment, often quoted, is, for those who think this is not a local issue, and it's not that you're saying that, but for those of you who don't think it's a local issue, just talk to the mayors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. At the drop of a bomb, it can become a very local issue. Definitely, I've got material. Their website is full of their activities and what they're doing. They're very involved. That first vision, nuclear disarmament, they are recognized by the UN. They're working with the UN. They're working on the two acronyms that have escaped me to do with agreements to disarm nuclear weaponry. They are very, very active on that front. They are respected. They are involved. That is their first vision. I've been focusing also on the safe and resilient community. Their focus is very much working with young people, educating young people, having things like poster contests. What is a peaceful community? What does it look like to you? Raising the awareness, keeping the idea of what does it mean to have a culture of peace in our society and in the world right now. Their website is full of it. mayorsforpeace.org. Anyone can go to it. And also examples of what different communities around the world are doing, what city members are doing. As I say, nonpartisan.
Okay, anyone else? Don't see any. So thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Okay. We now have the comments from members of the public for any item, a business item on the agenda. If anybody would like to come up, just come on up, Lori. Just state your name and civic address, please.
Oh, hello, my name's Lori Goldman. I'm from Penticton. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to speak to item 18.2, the recommendation for the adoption of the Zero Carbon Step Code. I'm with First Things First. I'm on the board of First Things First Okanagan, and we've learned from other communities and experts, builders and medical professionals about higher building standards and the importance to reduce gas emissions. The Zero Carbon Step Code has been adopted at effective high levels in over 25 BC communities. 3 have very cold winters. That's Rossland, Nelson, and Whistler. Builders in our area are already building electric buildings as they often are cheaper and faster to build, not having to put in gas systems and ducting. Homeowners often choose electric builds for comfort healthier interior air quality, and lower operating costs. And as tariffs from the south are applied, we're going to see gas appliance prices rising, while Asian heat pump prices will become ever more affordable. Also, with LNG starting to be exported from Canada, local gas rates may increase, as has been found in Australia. Cold climate heat pumps are efficient to -30 degrees Celsius and have electric backup systems, so dual fuel air heating systems for backup in cold snaps are not necessary. Even gas fireplaces aren't needed. The zero carbon step code at energy level 3 or 4 also allow our communities to reduce pollution, helping us reach our emissions targets, contributing to a cleaner, safer planet, a necessary requirement. Later is too late. And as EL2, energy level 2, is confusing and more expensive, we hope that council will consider adopting EL3 or EL4. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else like to comment? No? Oh, we have somebody online. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. We see you. If you could just state your name and civic address, please.
Yes, I see a few people online, so I'm not sure if it's me, but I will go. My name is Liz McDowell, and I live in Vancouver, BC, on 1299 East 14th Avenue. And I also want to speak to Zero Carbon Step Code. So following on Lori, I'm the Senior Campaigns Director with an environmental organization called Stand.Earth. I'm also a parent, a climate advocate, and a BC resident, and someone who has really happily spent time in Summerland every summer for the last few years and love being there with my family. I am here on behalf of Stan's 99,000 community members across BC, including nearly 300 in Summerland, to call on council to pass a strong zero carbon step code policy for all new buildings. As your staff report notes, and as Lori just spoke to so eloquently, new buildings constructed with clean electric heating are cost comparable and just as speedy to build as those with gas heating. Even better, this is an excellent way to ensure that all new homes come equipped with cooling from heat pumps, which is so important in a community like Summerland. And building right the first time will save homeowners from costly renovations down the road as province-wide regulations come into place. I would encourage you strongly to go further than the staff recommendation and adopt emissions level 3 or higher for all new construction from 2026. In the middle of another record-breaking wildfire season, luckily not in BC so far, as the mayor so thoughtfully stated earlier, we need to be doing everything in our power to address one of the biggest causes of climate change, which is burning fossil fuels. And in particular, burning fossil fuels in buildings is responsible for nearly half of all climate pollution in most cities. Numerous studies have found that installing highly efficient heat pumps and electric boilers are one of the most effective climate actions local governments can take. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Do we have somebody else online?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead. Just state your name and civic address, please, and go ahead.
My name is Ruth Campbell. I live at 5618 Nixon Road in Summerland. Yeah, thank you for the time and the opportunity to address the consideration of agenda item number 18.2, implementation of the zero carbon step code. I have lived in Summerland for about 30 years. In the first 20 years that I lived here, I welcomed the end of spring rains and was really looking forward to the bright, clear sunshine of summer. In the last 10 years, that has changed. And it's been a concern of mine that I might have to be gardening in my N95 mask and that I would be cycling in my basement to get exercise because it was too hot and too smoky outside to live. That has prompted me to begin a retrofit on my house beginning with an installation of an air source heat pump in 2019. That has been costly, complex, and doesn't work as effectively as if it had been built initially into the system. So Odessa is going to talk about the potential cost of including this in new builds, and her estimate is between minus 0.1% and 2% increase in cost. My cost was about 6% of the value of my home. That doesn't include the large amount of money that will be necessary for me to upgrade my panels so I can switch from a gas stove to an electric stove. So this is a costly thing. I understand that it's difficult to consider how resources are allocated in a community such as ours. But I would ask you to consider that climate change is a really important thing. It's a real and present danger in our community. And please vote for the implementation of the zero carbon step code.
Okay, thank you, Ruth. Right on the music. Anyone else? No? Okay, and we'll be discussing that this evening. So, moving on to our business items. First up is our capital projects update, and I'll go to the CAO on this.
Thank you, Your Worship. There are 3 major projects underway in the community. That is Wharton Street revitalization, Prairie Valley Road and water main upgrades, and the primary clarifier. Since 2022, these projects have been publicly posted council priorities along with their project timelines. Today, we are introducing a new standing item on council's regular meeting agenda to update council on these projects as they proceed to completion, which is in addition to quarterly and other reporting council currently receives. Once budget approval is obtained by council on a project, staff follow the district's procurement policies and best practices for project management. Professional consultants are necessary for surge capacity for complex projects such as these, and without them, we would need to hire an additional 15 to 20 full-time specialty project management and engineering staff to run these projects. Contract project engineers are generally in place to help oversee complex projects and to ensure the detailed technical specifications are being achieved by the successful project proponent obtained through procurement. Senior department staff also engage on a frequent basis to provide direction for on-site issues or questions as they emerge to keep track and keep the project on track. Staff follow industry best practices in the daily operational management of our projects, including management of change orders, daily and weekly project meetings with regulated professionals, weekly or bi-weekly updates with myself, etc. Projects are managed within the assigned budget envelope and within assigned contingencies. In unusual circumstances involving a contract dispute on the interpretation of a term of a contract provision, staff will manage the issue unless further council direction is required on the matter, or if new monies are required for previously unknown elements of a project. Efforts are made to communicate effectively with the public on these major projects, which has involved elements of various nature, including but not limited to open houses, open council meetings, press releases, Facebook posts, community updates on the webpage, the mayor's column, the newsletter, business-focused meetings, the digital sign and sandwich boards, and in the case of the Wharton Revitalization Infrastructure Project, a dedicated website with regular updates at whartonstreet.ca. The media has also picked up many news-related items and published them using various means. Staff remain focused on quick delivery of project plans to get through the construction period as fast as practical, recognizing also that any delay in the projects will translate into significant financial implications given cost escalation. At this time, and based on existing known factors, these major projects are on a good trajectory to stay within the assigned budget parameters. Reconciliation occurs as invoices are processed and budgetary accuracy increases in direct correlation to project percentage completion. Finance staff are engaged and aware of periodic invoicing. I have also brought with me today the Director of Works and Infrastructure and the Director of Utilities, who will briefly touch on the project updates in your council package, and then perhaps we can take any questions that council has.
Good. Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'll just start with the Wharton Street project, a brief update on where we're at. So we are sort of moving away from some of the deep work along Wharton Avenue. So the underground electrical and communications along Wharton Street from Kelly to Victoria are nearly complete. There's still little bits to tie in, but for the most part, that's been done. The storm and then minimal water and sanitary improvements along Wharton Street are now complete. So now we can move on to the other roads that require that. As we're starting to build the structure back up, we're putting structural soils and soil cells along the trees to help ensure that they survive the compaction requirements of building a road around them. The pathway and the road are currently being prepared for paving. However, the paving won't happen until the paver stones have been installed. So that'll be later in August or early September, but we will start to prep it so we're ready to go as soon as that can be done. The curbing is actually being poured today and tomorrow along that stretch of road. So that's an exciting milestone that we've hit. And then residents have probably noticed that the cenotaph has been dismantled. A new pad has been poured and it's now being built back up as we speak in its new location. To date, we're about a third of the way complete this project by budget spend. So that's about $1.6 million done. In thinking about how much budget has been spent, a lot of the high value items are done at the very end of the project, such as the installation of the washroom, the paving. Those are the high value ones. So in a matter of a couple of weeks, a significant amount of the project spend will occur, but that's near the end of the project. So that places us currently within the budget allowance that the council has for this project. Moving forward, the next few steps are, as of today, the intersection of Victoria and Main Street has been closed, and they're going to be milling that road tomorrow and starting with the deep utility works in that intersection for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So there is water and storm going in there, as well as the electrical that's going to be running right through there. As Graham mentioned, we have done significant communications on that in many different ways. The contractor may also bring in another crew to do some electrical work heading east along Kelly Avenue, so the opposite end of the project. This work will either get done now or it'll get done in September, but having a second crew will help expedite things down there. Our target completion date remains the Remembrance Day ceremony on November 11th. We are currently a couple of weeks behind schedule just due to some unforeseen electrical and communications things that we've run into, but we're working with the contractor, staff, and the engineer to make up that time. We're still very confident that we'll be ready to go for the Remembrance Day ceremony in November. Did we want to go through all of them or have
Why don't
questions?
we want to do one project at a time? So we'll just first take questions on Wharton Street. So I have Councillor Trainer, Van Elfen, then Peak.
Thanks, Joe. I just have a couple questions. So the first one is, are you guys monitoring that new intersection setup? So today when I drove in, I noticed because cars are still able to park between Henry and Victoria on Main Street, even though there's a sign that says road closed, people still go down there. So there's probably going to be quite a bit of turning around down at that end. If that for some reason becomes a problem, do we have, like, would we consider closing off that entire block? Or I'm just worried that there's going to be a lot of people turning around at that end thinking they can get through.
Yeah, great question through the mayor. We are monitoring it. Today is actually obviously day one. And so people are just starting to realize that, okay, the closure actually means the road is closed. It's not like a local traffic situation. So we do feel that we don't want to lose the parking between along that last sort of western stretch of Main Street. So we tried to leave as much parking there as we can and provide a turnaround, not for a large truck, but for the smaller vehicles in that area. So we're going to monitor it. It usually takes a couple of days for especially the residents to understand how it's going to work and how everything goes. If we do notice problems after, a few days or a week, then we'll take a look at any other options that we can have. But we do want to keep the parking available in front of, those businesses there.
Can I follow up? Yeah, no, I think that that's a good idea. I just want to, I just don't know how it's going to play out in terms of a lot of people turning around there because, again, thinking they can go through. And then the other thing I was going to ask is, are we like documenting this process, like the entire Wharton Street construction project with like photographs and stuff? Because we are doing updates on Facebook, which I think are really good. But I think if we can do more visual photographs with like crews and, here's the next step that we're moving into with photos of them, laying in pipes or putting out paving stones or whatever. I think that goes a long way with the public and actually seeing what we're doing instead of just reading it. So I think as much as we can take photos and document it, I think that that is a really good communication tool. What's happening?
This is why you want to break the news.
Oh, right.
Instagram. I think we're getting
Oh,
Instagram. Well, I think this is it. This is the opportunity.
Yeah, we could, late breaking announcement here. We're stepping into the 21st century and we're going to have an Instagram account. And we have a capable part-time communications person who's going to be able to help us with that. But also, for all of your Wharton Street needs, we have a whartonstreet.ca website, which has a lot of pictures as well. But I think I like what you're saying in terms of getting as much of that out there and documenting as well. So for sure.
Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through to Joe. I was just on Sunday walking through there, going to the washroom facilities in the park. And that area on Henry, we're looking at a paving stone slightly raised as a traffic calming measure. And I was talking to our CAO. Is there a possibility to put a change order in? Scrap the paving stone idea, go asphalt with that slight rise for the traffic calming, and put in a crosswalk that would honor our veterans. A painted crosswalk like they've got them in other communities. They're painted maybe with the poppies or, just to honor our veterans, being it's going to be coming straight off of Henry, straight into our Memorial Park, right to our cenotaph. And I think it'd be a cost savings in the long run, rather than the paving stones, just doing the raised asphalt with a crosswalk honoring our veterans. I just thought, see what other people on council would think. Thanks, Joe.
Well, I don't know if we want to talk about that now or what. Otherwise, Councillor Peak, you're next up.
I don't mind having a discussion now, but I was going to ask Joe, thank you very much, and thank you, Councillor Van Alphen, for your suggestion. I was wondering, because I don't understand all the terms when we talk about things, what are soil cells? Can you explain about the new trees?
Yes, that's a terrific question through the mayor. So when you do excavations around existing trees or even newer trees, and you're paving with either paver stones or something where you have to compact over top of roots, you put the roots into a soil cell. And the soil cell is basically just it's like crushed gravel that you usually pave on, but you intermix little bits of sort of soil in there to make it so that the roots will establish better and have oxygen, the air in it, oxygen and the water will get to the roots and they have room to expand in there. So it basically helps to protect the trees through construction processes like this. So we're mixing up the soil cell, like the material to put into those to sort of protect the root ball and the root of the trees through construction, after construction.
Quick question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I remember when Jeremy had us out walking and looking at lamp standards and whatever, he said it isn't very good where on Main Street we have trees and we don't have good cell for them underneath. So the hope is by looking at how we've done it in the past, we're improving what we're doing on Wharton to have healthy trees is part I how would look at it. Would that be correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is it possible to discuss the suggestion that Councillor Van Alphen had? I think it might be a good time.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I will ask Joe, is it possible to do just an asphalt lift as opposed to paving on that area crossing Wharton? And if so, would that then accommodate a crosswalk that might have pictures or applied color or whatever for a veterans crosswalk?
Yes, through the mayor, absolutely. We do have to make that decision sooner than later because they have ordered all the pavers and that sort of thing. But we can switch to paving and we can get a paint design. I know that Peachland has one and a few other locals, governments in this area. The one thing about painting is it will fade over time, so you have to continually repaint it and you don't want it to get to a point where it doesn't look good. I don't have those costs on me right now, but we can definitely look into, what the cost savings would be to switch to the asphalt and then, the annual painting or every second year painting, whatever it may be for those crossings. But we have to sort of decide fairly soon because they're really pushing to get through the project. So.
I'm going to assume something, but I want to say it so I know whether the assumption is correct. So if we do pavers in the park towards the cenotaph, we do pavers on Kelly, on Henry rather, in that short space on the block itself, but we would have asphalt on Wharton Street. That's what we would do as an alternate then?
I think that's what Councillor Van Alphen was requesting, yeah. That's what we would be able to do.
I certainly like that idea.
Councillor Betts?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity. I appreciate the idea coming forward. I mean, sometimes better late than never, though I'm, worried about project timelines and any kind of cost acceleration. Joe, in an event of a change like this, where I believe asphalt would cost less, but it is with a lift, so there would be more there. Would the already ordered paving stones be able to be returned?
Yes, through the mayor, we would be able to return them. I'm not sure if they have been ordered. I'm not sure if there's any type of restocking fee associated with that at this point, because we did need to have them. We have to get them on site right away because we have to do that prior to doing any paving. And there's a lot of those going down on this project. I don't know, haven't talked to the contractor about this potential option yet, but it's something we could look at.
Councillor Trainer?
Unless there's a significant cost savings to this, I would prefer to keep it as is. I think it will look better when the project's done. It will be more cohesive. I also think that like you said, Joe, the crosswalks fade they can fade, and then until we get them painted, they look bad. And so I just think that I would rather keep it really, classic and simple and well done with a nice visual standing on Henry, looking all the way to the cenotaph. And that's just what I would like. I think that we have banners that honor the veterans, which are really nice. And I think that there's other things that we could do to maybe enhance the cenotaph once it's been moved. But again, unless there's a significant cost savings, I would like to continue with the plan as is.
Well, I'll just, Councillor Pat, you have nothing? No. Okay, so I think there's certainly a place in the community for a poppy crosswalk. I don't think that's the location, whether it's across Kelly or Victoria, across Wharton, maybe one of those spots. Just like I think there's a place for an Every Child Matters crosswalk. I think there's a place for, we've talked about other kinds of crosswalks. I think we need to look at the painting budget and how much that would cost us for operational as we go on. I don't think it should go in that location. A lot has gone into the plans, this plan. We've had a community task force look at it. We've had lots of public consultation and open houses. And the whole objective of this exercise is how do we take Memorial Park and downtown, which are right next to each other, but completely disjointed, and how do we bring them together? And this is what we came up with, this town plaza, which continues all the way into the park. And now we're going to, just blow that up. Then you're just going to end up with a disjointed, the problem that we started with, and what we're doing isn't solving that problem of bringing the two jewels of the community together. So I don't think it's the right place. Anyway, Councillor Betts.
Thank you. This is just on a different note, but a different Wharton question. This question is for Joe. Actually, it's about, so I definitely got the notices today on, I think on Facebook actually, about the closures and everything, but I had a question about pedestrian crossing because it's more about road car turnarounds. But so say, for example, you're at the Beanery and you want to go get some flowers, or you want to stop in at Frilly Lily. How do you cross there? Is there a way through for pedestrians or get to Home Hardware? I'm just not sure of that pathway.
Yes, good question again through the mayor. So the contractor is setting up little pedestrian corridors, and they'll have to shift as the work shifts from time to time. So we haven't mapped those out because they will be obviously shifting with the flow. But just like what we've done on the Wharton part, where less pedestrian traffic was going through there, we always have corridors, and there's going to be flaggers in the area to help people to know exactly how to get to where they want to get. It's not always going to be a paved or concrete surface that they're walking or wheeling on. It might be packed gravel, but it will be an appropriate walking path for somebody to get to where they want to go. They may have to take a slightly longer route than they normally do, but there will be a way to walk to any establishment that they're looking to get to.
Great, may I follow up? Thank you. I will say, actually, I was outside one day and I saw one of those helpers kind of coordinating some pedestrians coming across from Vic South at Hunt across to Wharton, and was super helpful, very inviting to the resident who wasn't quite sure about where they were supposed to go, and went out of their way to make that person feel welcome to come towards Memorial Park and get kind of towards how they're going to get to the park. So I felt that was really well done. So will the sidewalks remain open for use? For example, if somebody wants to come from the Baptist Church down Memorial to the Beanery, is that sidewalk remaining open?
Through the mayor, yes, it will remain open unless it needs to be closed for safety of somebody to get there, like to walking through that area, in which case they'll have an alternate access to get to the Beanery or to get to the dance studio or the stores on Main Street.
Physiotherapy?
Physiotherapy, yeah. All the...
Great. Need to just know I'm going to get there. Thanks.
Joe or Graham, could you speak to what communications you've had with the local businesses downtown to make them aware and how you've worked with them?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So right at the start of this project, we had an initial kickoff discussion with the local businesses and local residents that live right along the Wharton corridor. That was prior to the start of the main project. And then working through the project, our team of our engineers, our technicians, and the contractor have been working with each individual business if, for example, their driveway is closed or their access is reduced or whatever, on a one-on-one basis. So, next Thursday, you're not going to be able to get in from the backside of your project. We've worked with them to let them know that and accommodate their schedules as well. As we shifted towards this closure of Main Street and Victoria intersection, we actually hand-delivered flyers to all of the local businesses in the downtown area and invited them to an open house, I think about 2 weeks ago. And at that open house, we had all the drawings of what we're planning on doing, discussed timelines, and we were there to answer questions. And for those businesses that did attend, for them to give us some ideas on what will work for them or what will help their business in working through that. And so in doing that 2 weeks ago, prior to us actually doing this closure, we were able to implement some of the recommendations that they had, just how we communicate, how to basically show that we have additional parking lots, like how to get to those parking lots. Some of those signs are being made right now, so they will be going up very soon. They're just being finalized, but things like that those businesses felt would really help their business moving forward. And then obviously we still have had the Facebook advertisements and the whartonstreet.ca website. We've discussed with them that they can send their clients to that website just to get real-time updates on any closures that may be happening. And so they took that and they've been advertising that to their clients.
Sia?
Yeah, just layering on there. Thank you, Your Worship. It's also one of the reasons why, I guess, the catalyst for us now getting the Instagram account, because in that conversation with the business owners, they said, we'd love to communicate your messages if you could push them to us, but we don't use Facebook. We all use Instagram. So we are going to be adopting the Instagram account actually in response to and to work alongside the business owners who very kindly have offered to be part of our communications exercise by pushing to their own customers through Instagram.
Thank you. Councillor Peak? Yes.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. I just wanted to say, being involved with the food bank and I'm on the construction, I go to Zoom construction meetings. I better understand the territory of the work that you guys do in the background. I'm really amazed at how many things happen and how many parts there are. I know that's doing a building, but I'm sure it's the same way for doing construction work. So I just want to give you kudos for the kind of work you do in the background. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Trainer?
I think it's great that we're starting an Instagram account, because if we can get businesses to share the district message, then they're kind of like community champions. And if the message is coming from them, it lands differently with a lot of people. So I think that's really good. For parking, right now we are enforcing the 2 hour. Once construction's done and we move past all this, will we still be enforcing parking, or is that really just only while this project is going on?
Yeah, through the mayor. We do always have a spectrum of enforcement that we work with all of our bylaws, including the parking. And that starts with warnings and then eventuates in some cases in tickets. And so we'll keep that approach in the future as well. And in fact, we're using it even here where most people are receiving just warning letters, unless we're seeing repetitive activity by the same individuals or certain locations where it's just really difficult, that we're actually writing tickets. But our long-term approach will return to is that spectrum of enforcement, starting with the warning and then working our way up as necessary.
Anything else on Wharton? Move on to Prairie Valley. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, moving to Prairie Valley. This one's a little bit further along in the progress. As council's aware, this one started in the fall of last year, closed down through winter, and then has started up in March or early April of this year. So the key progress to date is we have portions of lower, so there's two lists of asphalt on this project. There's a lower 50 millimeters or 2 inches, and then an upper 50 millimeters. So right now we have a lower 50 millimeters of asphalt paved throughout about half of the project to now. Next Tuesday, they'll be paving the remainder of the lower lift asphalt, so the lower 2 inches of asphalt. So that'll definitely lower the dust levels along there, and hopefully in fairly soon allow for single lane alternating traffic going through there. The multi-use pathway has been completed on the west side of the project, right through to and including asphalt. They're currently prepping the rest of the pathway for paving to happen on that later on in August. A majority of the curbing has been done or is going to be done in the next couple of weeks throughout the project. The water main and the sanitary sewer are completely finished, so that's a major milestone for the project. And then there's 2 major slopes that required upgrading. They're both partially complete, should be complete within a few weeks. So the spend to date, we're at about 2/3, 66% of the budget being spent. That's about $2.3 million. Very similar to the Wharton project. The paving and the final curbing is, those are the expensive line items. So when those happen, that 66% will rise very quickly to near the 100% mark. Moving forward, the next couple steps, they're currently graveling for paving. So they basically putting down the sub base and the base gravels, compacting them, grading them all out so that they can place the asphalt next week. They're finishing up on the multi-use pathway, and they're doing slope cleanup throughout the project as they sort of move away from the areas that have been completed. And as I mentioned, the lower lift of asphalt will be done on August 6th with the upper lift. So the final mat, where once you've got the final mat on, you don't want to do much work around there because any little ding in the asphalt will be there forever, is later in August. We're just waiting for a paving date from the paving subcontractor. We are targeting completion in mid to late August on this project. Work was going well. We did have a small delay of a few weeks due to unforeseen conditions on one of the slopes. We actually had to install some soil anchors. So that's actually why, I guess it was about a week and a half ago, we had to close Prairie Valley for 2 solid days to install, I think, about 20 of these soil anchors. And these are basically anchors that are drilled well into the ground until they hit rock to ensure that we have proper stability on that wall. So that's on the upper wall. That's about all we have for this project. Looking forward to having this one done and that road open for all traffic closer to the end of August.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Joe. Question, and I believe it's in regards to the slope cleanup. There was some talk in regards to a property that had a lot of building done on the right of way. And now when you look up the slope, it's right on, they're still within the right of way. And we did discuss, I believe about a year ago, on that we were not going to the extent of replacing when they do build into a right of way, because they should not be building into the right of way. So can you just help me understand what's going to happen with that property? Because I believe it's the carport and there's a shed. And as you drive by, which I did the other day and looked, I thought, holy smokes, like these are like close to the slope edge now. So I'm just wondering what are we going to do in regards to that property?
Through the mayor. So are you talking the high side or the low side of the road? The high side of the road? Yeah. So actually the reason why we needed to put these soil nails in was because of the slope going up right below that carport. But the carport is on private property and everything that they have is on their private property. We built right to the extent of the district road right of way. So there's really not much else to be done up there. There's no replacement needed or anything.
Okay, excellent. So it is. So that carport and that shed that are there, when you look up, that is on their property then?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay, primary clarifier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Switching over to the primary clarifier, not a lot to report here. Effectively on site, we've mobilized to site, done some survey work, and done the majority of the excavation. Huge hole in the ground there. You could probably fit this room in there quite comfortably. So our next step here is to go ahead and do the form work. They've already begun that, and then we'll get into pouring concrete. Currently, we've only had one progress payment with the contractor, and the details in the council report is for construction only. I've left out the preliminary work with design and procurement and all of that on the front end. So it does go from May to May or June next year for construction. So it will be some time yet. We're just in the early stages.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is just kind of a general comment about these project updates. I think they're really useful. I really appreciate seeing kind of just key milestones where we're at, where the budget's at. I think that's a really useful tool to both have and to share with our community. So I think that's great. I've seen the work starting down at the primary clarifiers. That's kind of my end of town as I'm driving down the mountain. So it's neat to kind of see that coming along. And yeah, I think that it's really great to have these updates going out on our social medias. And if businesses will share it, I think that's great for our downtown. And just it's nice to see some of our major projects up in the air and reaching towards completion this year and next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Melton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. I don't know if you could answer this, but is the contractor going to be using a local concrete company for their concrete?
Thank you, Councillor. I don't know the name of the subcontractor, but I could get Mayor and Council that if you're interested. No.
Just that we have qualified professionals in our community making that product, and sure like to see it stay local. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Then just a motion to receive this for information. Councillor Melton, Councillor Betts, all in favor? That carries. Move on to license of occupation for the arena concession. Councillor Betts.
I'll recuse myself from this item.
Okay, you're supposed to stay.
Because I am half of the owner of Sweet and Crusty Bake Co.
Thank you. Just give a moment for Councillor Betts to recuse herself. Okay, and who is taking this? Oh, gee. Director of Corporate Services?
Thank you, Mayor Holmes. So the District of Summerland has historically granted a license of occupation agreement for the operation of the concession at the Summerland Arena and Curling Club. The most recent license expired in the spring of 2025, so staff solicited applications for a concession operator for the 2025-26 season. The opportunity was promoted through the District of Summerland website under Parks and Recreation vending opportunities and as well on the district's Facebook page. One application was received, and this was the incumbent operator, Sweet and Crusty Bake Co. They have operated the concession at the arena since fall of 2022, and staff and users have had a positive experience with them being in the space. So the proposed term of the license is for the 2025-2026 season with the opportunity to extend for up to 2 additional seasons. The applicant under the agreement will provide the district with proof of commercial general liability insurance in the amount of not less than $2 million per occurrence and $5 million in aggregate, with the District of Summerland named as an additional insured, as well as they will have tenants' legal liability insurance and all risks property insurance. As this license does not grant exclusive use of the property, nor does it grant any interest in the property itself, it's not considered a disposal of property like a sale or a lease, and does not require public notification in accordance with the community charter. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions, and I believe the Director of Community Services is also online to support.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Councillor Peak.
If I remember correctly, there was only one person that applied to do this work. Is that correct?
Through the Mayor, Councillor Peak, yes.
Yes. I'm wondering, because it doesn't, okay, I'll just ask the question. I don't need to talk about it. Is it possible for the concession booth to also participate by having the concession booth open during events for the curling club? Is there a way of people getting through? Is it a possibility? It may expand the opportunity to make money for the operator of the concession booth.
Through the mayor, I will defer that question to our Director of Community Services.
Yeah, hello, Council. Through the mayor to Councillor Peak. Yeah, that opportunity is available for the concession operator to also provide food services through the Curling Club Bonspiel upon request. So they do have a relationship with that side, and the concession is actually linked on both sides, to the arena side as well as they have a window open to the Curling Club side.
Thank you. I didn't realize that. Excellent to know.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Someone like to bring a motion forward? Councillor Peak?
I will bring the motion forward as stated by the council agenda.
Okay, could I get a seconder, please? Councillor Peak, could we just get that up on the screen? Yeah, it is. Everybody's looked at it. So I'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed, that carries. Moment for Councillor Bex to return and then move on to the Water Utilities Amendment Bylaw. And corporate officer, please.
Sorry, this will be presented by our Director of Development Services.
All right. I was just seeing if you were paying attention.
She's always paying attention. That's why she's deferred it to me. Thank you, Mayor Holmes. So during 2025 utility budget deliberations, council provided direction to stagger water rate increases during the 2025 fiscal year. The majority of the increase came into effect on January 1st, with this additional 1% increase coming into effect on September 1st. The increase is estimated to generate approximately $13,400 in water utility revenues, which have been earmarked by council as an asset management contribution that will be transferred to the water capital reserve for future capital projects. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Councillor Peak?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Dave, I did try to send you an email, but it kept telling me that I want to close it down before they got sent, so I don't think you even got it. I did ask what the amount we have in our capital reserve for water. Do you have any idea?
So through the mayor to Councillor Peak, if I'm looking at our amended financial plan, 2025, we're estimating that our reserve balance at the end of 2025 will be $13,372. And at the end of 2029, again, based on the financial plan, it'll be $784,230. 230. And that does take into account this $13,400 contribution.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Worship.
Councillor Malcolm?
Thank you. Through our Director of Finance, generally when you do these reports, you kind of give us an average, like, an $800,000 average home. What's the effect going to be on their utility bill? Would you have that?
Through the mayor to Councillor Van Alphen, that would have been provided back when we did the first bylaw amendment. But a 1% increase. Give me a sec. Where's the bylaw? Yeah, I don't have the info on the top of my head here, but if you'd like, I can send you an email.
I appreciate it.
Okay. I'll send an email to all of council.
I think if we'll remember that we discussed this during budget, and the reason we decided to stagger the increase for water is because we wanted to give a break to mainly the agriculture users, so that it wouldn't come in all at first, all at January 1st. We'd defer the 1% to September 1st. And that was mainly to give agricultural users a break. Councillor Betts?
I'll bring forward the staff recommendation as written.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Peak, any further discussion? Call the question, all in favor? And none opposed, that carries. Servicing Officer Establishment Bylaw, appointment of an interim deputy approving officer, and that would be the corporate officer.
So thank you again, Mayor Holmes. Recent amendments to the Local Government Act through the Planning and Land Use Management Regulation empower local governments to designate serving officers by bylaw, which must fall within a prescribed list of persons under provincial regulations. So this regulation came into force in February 2025, and a servicing officer of a local government may require the owner of land, as a condition of issuing a building permit, provide a portion of land for highway use. In addition, a servicing officer may require the owner of land to provide, again, as a condition of the building permit, a portion of land for the purpose of constructing and installing suitable design features and transportation infrastructure. So the proposed servicing officer establishment bylaw number 2025-018 designates the director of works and infrastructure and the director of development services as servicing officers for the district of Summerland. And additionally, and a little bit related but unrelated, we're also recommending that an interim deputy approving officer be appointed to provide coverage for an absence of the approving officer. So staff, we currently don't have that in place. So staff are recommending that the Director of Works and Infrastructure also be appointed as the interim deputy approving officer for the district.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? This is kind of Bill 44 stuff, eh? Still dragging along. Yeah. Councillor Peak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll bring the motion forward as stated in the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Could we get that up, please? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Betts? Okay. And any discussion? Councillor Patton?
Thank you, Worship. Do we need an approving officer if we have a servicing officer? Because the approving officer would do it at subdivision time, but my take is the servicing officer can do it at any time. So do we require a staff person to be both a servicing officer and an approving officer?
Through the mayor, good question. Yes, they are different, and we do require both. The servicing officer is just when it's a building permit that they're allowed to do it, whereas the approving officer is through subdivision. So the servicing officer cannot approve a subdivision. The approving officer can only, the servicing officer can only basically require this when there's a building permit going on, whereas the approving officer has several more powers that are required.
So what this serving officer will be able to do at time of building permit, if there's a road widening, if there's a corner cut that's required, if there's anything to do in that sort of scope, is that where this servicing officer will come into play?
Correct, just for the actual land, not for installing new infrastructure, just the land for the installation.
Anyone else? We have the motions on the table. Call the question. All in favor? And none opposed. That carries. Now we have a couple of bylaws for adoption. Fees and charges for electric rates and building permit fees amendment bylaw. Someone like to bring that forward? Councillor Betts, second. Councillor Trainer. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? None opposed. That carries. And the municipal and regional district tax, that's the hotel tax bylaw for adoption. Councillor Peak, Councillor Trainer, any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries. Items removed from consent, the discussion paper on cannabis sales, Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This letter was from the Liquor Cannabis Regulation Branch and was looking for feedback regarding expanding cannabis sales to events. And they were looking for local government stakeholders to submit feedback. They were looking for licensed vendors to submit feedback. And I was wondering with staff if maybe this question is for Graham, CAO, did we submit a response for this, or would we have one person speaking for just from council? I just wasn't sure because I thought this was a pretty just a nice opportunity to provide feedback about this kind of change.
Through the mayor, thank you for the question. I don't believe that we have submitted a response. I don't believe we're planning to as staff, and as yet we haven't been directed or otherwise instructed by council as to what our position would be.
Thank you. So like when I see things like this coming up, like they're looking for feedback from communities about the risks and benefits of allowing this opportunity. And we do have a number of small businesses in our community who are cannabis vendors. And I just wasn't sure if you're okay with it, if I submit some feedback, or if anybody else would prefer to, or if there's no feedback from our community. I just wanted council's thoughts because I thought this opportunity was, they're looking for this feedback. It's important.
Councillor Peak.
Thank you, Your Worship. Along those same veins, I wonder, do we send this on to those that have licenses within our community so that they're aware of it? And they may actually receive it, but I just wonder if we do that kind of work.
Councillor Betts.
Councillor Peak, I did send this forward to one of the licensed vendors who's previously reached out to council just about interacting with council on some different issues. So I sent it to PH Cannabis, just knowing that they've been advocates for the cannabis industry all along. But it sounded like the LCRG was reaching out to licensed vendors. So I thought that the other cannabis vendors in town likely would have had the opportunity directly to them. Speaking about whether we have, I mean, I can't speak for that. That would be Graham.
CEO.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was going to say the same thing, is that although the letter is a little bit vague, it does appear that they are also engaging license holders. That's in the groups that they want to hear from, as well as federally licensed producers, First Nations, industry organizations, and other partners. So the extent and detail of their list is a little bit opaque. However, for the purposes of this letter, I think they're wondering if we have anything to say that we'd like them to know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, maybe our local retailers would think it's great. It's more an opportunity to them, but then they might think, well, it's competition as well. So they might not think it's great. I don't really feel that we're in a position to, if we want to support our local companies, I wouldn't know what position to take on that. So and otherwise I don't really have a firm opinion myself. So. Councillor Betts.
Thank you for the opportunity. I mean, I just find it interesting that even at Light Up, there was a separate smoking area, for example, this year that was separate from the festivities so that over 18s could consume as is legally allowed. So, I mean, yeah, the feedback, it does say First Nations, Modern Treaty Nations, and local governments. And so in that regard, I just didn't know if we wanted to submit any feedback on the potential options for enabling cannabis sales at events, because we could see that at weddings locally, we could see it at items like places like Light Up. So for example, right now, there's perhaps a space people may go smoke, but this would be an area where they could legally sell their merchandise. So anyway, I thought it was interesting. It looks like this is an evolution and a step forward in terms of cannabis sales in the province. And so they're just looking for feedback.
Give a new meaning to Light Up. My question to them is like, when they first legalized cannabis, there was all talk about sharing some revenue with municipalities. Well, that never happened. So my question to them was, what about the sharing revenue with municipalities? Why, but that's not really, it's probably not the sort of feedback they're looking for, but anyway. So, I don't know, Councillor Betts, it's up to you. What do you want to do with this? I don't really.
Is anybody offended if I submit answers to their multiple choice questions?
Oh, on your own behalf, go ahead.
Well, I'm a member of local government. I just didn't know if anybody was opposed to just, I mean, there's obviously opportunity and risk in exposing or growing any kind of industry like this. So there's both.
No, as an individual, you can, by all means, just on behalf of council, you're not doing it on behalf of council, you do it on behalf of yourself, so that's fine. Yeah. Councillor Trainer.
This kind of reminds me of when I was managing the Penticton Farmers Market and they brought in liquor at markets. It was a huge deal. And after all the dust settled, it turned out to not really be a big deal. The difference with liquor at the market is that, if you have a little sample of wine, it's not affecting people around you. Whereas if you're sampling some forms of cannabis, it does affect other people. So it does say in here that it's still subject to what's not changing. You'd still have to follow like no smoking rules within our municipality. So to me, that's important that that's maintained. But otherwise, I mean, if they're selling different kinds of products at a farmer's market, I don't see it being a big deal. So, but I'm happy if you submit feedback. Yeah, maybe I will too, having my experience at the farmer's market.
Okay, so just a motion to receive that for information. Then Councillor Betts, seconds. Anybody? Just to receive for information, Councillor Trainer, all in favor? That carries. We're not going to close. We have nothing for close, so I'll recess the meeting until 6 o'clock this evening.